Hello, gorgeous humans. Oh, I just had a stretch just then that needed to happen. So, this is my first live this week. I don't think I did one at the end of last week either, but really excited that we have the Glow Up Dating enrollments are now open. So you can find the link for that in my bio. I'm super, super, super excited about that. That was the big announcement. I probably should have led up to it a little bit more. I don't know. I'm not very good at that sort of thing. Not all the time. But I am really excited about it. And um, there were I've had quite a few amazing conversations, particularly in this last, well, not particularly in this last week, but this last week I've had some amazing conversations. And one of them was actually with my sister, and it had to do with leveling up and learning things um, and how grateful we are for different really difficult things that have happened in our lives. I've gone through a lot of crazy stuff. My sister has also gone through a lot of crazy stuff. She had a stroke when she was 27 and went on to have two kids after that. Two more kids, so she's now got six kids. So anyway, side note, but we were talking about how all this crazy stuff has happened in our lives and how it's not an easy thing, and getting through it's really hard, but how we are who we are now because of it. And it reminded me of this quote that went somewhere along the lines of, the three things that you learn the most from, that teach you the most, is an empty stomach, a broken heart, and an empty wallet, or something like that. And then I had actually noted earlier, a few weeks earlier, that it takes a smart man to learn from the painful times, but it takes a wise person to learn from the successful times. And in actual fact, a lot of times, like, you can see a man's true colors or a woman's true colors, a human's true colors, when they start to gain success. Success in some way, right? Or their definition of success. And I noticed, so I have this, and oh my gosh, this is so vulnerable, but I have this fear that I'm actually a really lazy person on the inside. And I have noticed at different times when I am gaining success, I have a tendency to be more lazy. And then because I expect it to just keep showing up without the work happening. And that's just not how that works. So I've kind of gone, okay, well, that's something that I need to learn from. So as I see success start to come about in my life, I need to continue the momentum, So that's something that I found really interesting. And then I also kind of thought about it in relation to relationships, and particularly with my last relationship. I was very curious, and I really was intentional about keeping a journal around this particularly. I was curious to see how I felt beforehand, leading into the meeting of my last partner and boyfriend, and then how I felt afterwards. Because I was like, I know that everyone's sort of rushing to get into a relationship or wanting to find their soulmate and all of that sort of thing. And I was just so curious. I'm like, I wonder if it's going to change how I feel. Like just be really intentional about it, because I hadn't given it a heap of thought in the past, or at least I hadn't engaged in that idea, that the idea of being with someone is so much put on a pedestal and that sort of thing, that it's interesting to then see how you show up once you're in a relationship. And I found that to be really interesting, that I didn't feel any different. Like, I felt like me. I felt like I still had the same stresses and all of that sort of thing. So the having of what it is that I wanted didn't change me. The having of it didn't change me. It really, what it did was it illuminated a little bit more of the work that I needed to do, actually. It showed me the weakness and this is only because I was looking for it, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in, the shininess of it all. but it showed me the parts of me that I needed to work on, which I was super grateful for, super, super, super grateful for. And it also reiterated to me the importance of doing the inner work before you actually get into a relationship, and how absolutely vital it is to have a foundation of self-love before you get into a relationship. And there's a few reasons behind that, and one of the easiest ones is, consider different relationships you've had in the past, or even friends of yours. So people who have been in relationships who then change. They change who they are to sort of fit in with their new partner, their new lover. And therefore their self is compromised. And then when the relationship eventually dissolves, as it will, because that's not an honest and accurate perception of yourself, and yourself tends to rebel against that in a way, you kind of look and you realize that you've lost a lot of yourself to that relationship. And a lot of people blame the other person. Oh, they didn't let me do this, they made me do that. And in actual fact, it was a decision that you'd made to not strengthen that foundation that you had with yourself, and compromise it in such a big way and continuously, where you literally have just lost yourself. You've forgotten who you were. You've forgotten what's important to you. You forget what you like, what brings you joy, instead of then thinking about the other person in relation to your joy. Think about, you hear about people when they become single, they get the glow up body. They kind of get to a place where they're like, get the killer body, the revenge body. And then they get into a relationship, and this person's like, oh my goodness, okay, you seem like you're a really healthy, fit person. And then they let all of those good habits go when they're in a relationship, because they did it to get the relationship. They didn't do it from a place of loving self, which actually helps to concrete and cement a lot of those, foundational things, that the behaviors, the efforts that kind of come into making you who you are. So instead of coming from a place of, oh, I'm going to feel like this when I have that thing, whether it be success, whether it be a relationship, whether it be dating, you kind of need to start to come from a place of aligning with who you are, with learning who you are, with loving who you are, surrendering to yourself, and really valuing and protecting that, not in a way to push others away, but in a way to nurture yourself. And in that sense, you'll do a lot of these same actions very similarly to how you have done in the past. However, they will stick around for you when you're in that relationship. They're not just going to quickly dissolve because someone else has something that they're interested in doing with you. It's like that you'd rather hang out with them than your friends, sort of thing, where your friends are still important even if you're in a relationship. That's just one example. So it's coming from a place of, instead of, once I have what I want, then I'll do the things, like that's going to make me do what I need to do to then be what I want to be, whether it be happy, whether it be free, whether it be at peace or feel safe or anything like that. So that's the typical model, but that's automatically flawed, because that's going to, once you have the thing, you're not going to have the foundations behind it to maintain it. That's why coming from the place of being before you have is so critical. It's like pivotal to lasting change. And the way that we do that is we show up now as though we have what it is that we are wanting. And that also releases a lot of the resistance around it. So something I would like to leave you with, and in preparation for tomorrow's live video that I'm doing in here Feel free to jump on live, ask questions. I'm just going to go over what the program is and give a couple of helpful tips for people to sort of help them on their way. But some food for thought. And this isn't a quick answer. This is a contemplative, rhetorical question for now. If your soulmate turned up right now, would you be ready? If the money that you were looking for turned up right now, would you be ready to fully receive it? Have a think about this, because really, when we dig deeper underneath it and we look for the motivations behind a lot of it, we can satiate a lot of that without the having of what it is that we are wanting. That's a little bit of food for thought. I hope this has helped in some way. I'm sending you so much love and bliss, and I will see you tomorrow in the live. Bye.